Hello, everybody. Germ here, and welcome to the Mentally Diseased Podcast. Now, before we get started, I want to take a moment to establish what the heck that even means. This is a new format that I'm very excited to introduce to my channel, get the opportunity to bring some other people on and talk about their experiences with Jehovah's Witnesses, some panel discussions, and we also plan to do a news bit where we're going to go over all the latest in JW happenings in kind of a bite-sized, humorous way. Now, this will be a lot of fun for me as someone who left in the early 2000s because what they've become now as a religion, I no longer recognize. So I've asked a couple of rising stars in the ex-JW community to come on and help me out with that, keep me in check. And the plan is to do a dual release of this, one on the channel as a video podcast like you're watching right now, and we'll also have one available that you can download from iTunes or wherever, because if you're anything like me, you can't sit there and watch a YouTube video for an hour, but maybe it's something you want to listen to on your commute to work or while you're cleaning the house. So that'll be available very soon. Give me another week or two. I'm still setting it up, but very soon that will be an option. For my very first guest, this is one of those aforementioned ex-JW rising stars that's going to help me as a regular co-host on the show. He is a reformed apologist. Many years ago, he started a YouTube channel defending Jehovah's Witnesses until he found himself epically destroyed by Lloyd Evans. He has since faded from Jehovah's Witnesses and has started a new channel to right his past wrongs.
Jehovah's Witnesses claim to be the only true religion on earth, the only means of salvation from the impending Armageddon. Now, this is a very serious claim, and when somebody makes such a massive claim, the burden of proof falls on them to provide the evidence. This is what today's video is about. Let's review the Jehovah's Witnesses criteria in identifying the true religion.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am very excited to introduce John Maple. John, thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, Germ. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm excited to have you on. Your content is fantastic. You're doing a bit of dual language stuff, very well produced, very well researched. It's fantastic. I think you're going to go great places.
Oh, thank you. It's quite a bit of work, but you know, I do it because I want to help as much as possible.
And I'm sure that you will. And it's going to be awesome. So before we get going to your dark history, which I want to talk about, I'm very interested in this. Tell us a little bit about your background with Jehovah's Witnesses.
Well, I am a third generation Jehovah's Witness. So my grandparents were the ones that first got indoctrinated and then got baptized. And my parents were raised in the organization, and thus I was raised in the organization. So I didn't stand a chance. Born straight into it. And from the very beginning, I was actually looking the other day at some old family videos, and I think I was like 1 or 2 years old, and they would put like little mock Kingdom Hall meetings at the house.
Oh, wow.
They put like a little, they put like a little lectern, and then my 1-year-old self would just like say Jehovah over and over, and they would ask me questions and where's Jehovah? And I would point to the sky, you know, the usuals.
Yeah, point to the sky. So your whole family is in it? Do you have extended family that you're close with?
I would say the majority of my family is in it. Very few members of my family are not any longer. They used to be, but they kind of just faded away.
I see.
But yeah, the majority of my family are witnesses.
Okay, so now might be a good time to explain to me and establish for anybody that might not understand, why are you a leaf? Why do you sound like a Pokemon? And why is your last name Maple? What's going on there?
Okay, well, I am a leaf because I am what most people probably already know as a PIMO, which is physically in, mentally out. I am physically in because I am still technically baptized, even though I no longer congregate. I'm trying to kind of fade away slowly, but my whole family thinks that I'm just discouraged, I'm just depressed, I need a little break, but they're expecting me back any day now.
Okay, so you're kind of trying to hide your apostasy.
Yes,
so that
I definitely have to do that.
Which is very understandable, especially for someone who's most of your family is still in it.
Yeah, exactly. And the reason why I chose, the leaf and the name, it's essentially inspired by Lloyd Evans, John Cedars. That was his, alias, the John, and then the name of a tree. And then he had someone that eventually faded as well and started helping him write articles. And he went by the name John Redwood. So, I just kind of saw a little pattern, and I decided to continue that pattern as an homage to the classic, to the original John Cedars. So I am John Maple.
Okay. It's going after your old nemesis's patterns. We're planting trees out here in the XJW community. So tell me, give me an idea of what growing up as a witness was like for you.
So I was in and out from being super into it. Like most repressed children or teenagers, I would say, I wanted to, go out and have fun. Which is kind of the reason why I didn't get baptized until so late in life. Because my idea was, well, I want to have fun as a teenager first, then get baptized later. Because if I get baptized first, then I'm going to get in trouble. I'm going to get DF'd.
Yeah. So how old were you when you got baptized?
I was around 21 years old when I got baptized.
Around 21. So for a witness, that's really late. So witnesses usually get baptized around 12, 13? Is that right?
Yeah, usually. There was actually a little girl in my old congregation. I believe she was 7 who got baptized.
Wow. Yeah, and that's crazy because getting baptized is basically signing a contract. Yes, I agree. If I ever screw up, you can take my family away from me.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's emotional blackmail at its finest.
Yeah. So you didn't get baptized till you were 21. Did you face any pressure or scrutiny from people for waiting that long?
Yes, I was the only youth in my congregation not yet baptized, so the pressure was out of control. However, surprisingly, a lot of the other youth would still hang out with me, despite me being not baptized, and I still had all the usual privileges of passing the microphones and, doing the Bible reading and all that stuff, despite not being baptized. So, I don't know, it was a weird experience. I know it's not usually common for unbaptized publishers to get all these privileges and stuff, but
I mean, that sounds like ministerial servant kind of stuff. At least the mics and the sound guy in all the halls I went to were ministerial servants. So they must have liked you.
Well, maybe. I think it's mostly because there was only 2 elders at the time and only 3 ministerial servants. So they just had a real need for strapping young men to step up and
you
do
were
all the...
strapped on, ready to go.
Yep. As sexy as that sounds.
So on your channel, you are doing dual language videos in both English and Spanish. Did you go to a Spanish congregation or what, predominantly English?
Yes, Spanish was actually my first language. So I went to a Spanish congregation practically my entire life. Yeah.
Wow, okay. And you're Canadian?
I am not. I just picked the maple leaf.
You're going to be dealing with that the rest of your life. I swore you were Canadian for forever till I actually talked to you.
I know. Everyone thinks I'm Canadian. And I've actually, in some of my videos, I've gotten JW apologists commenting. And the number one thing that they call me out on is that I, quote, hide behind the Canadian flag as a coward.
You coward. Hiding behind that terrifying Canadian flag. So eventually, you turn 21 and you get baptized. What finally got you to finally break in and get baptized?
I think it was mostly just the pressure, just the constant pressure. I've always been scared of disappointing, my parents and my friends and stuff. I've always had that struggle. So I just figured, you know what? I'm 21. I'm getting older. I don't have a girlfriend. I don't have any other, schooling that I'm doing. I have the time. I should get baptized. It's what's expected of me. It's the next step. And at that point, I did believe it was the truth. I don't know. I just wanted to have fun, I guess, first. But since that wasn't happening, I just bit the bullet and got baptized.
Right. And as a witness, I mean, if you want to get married, your chances are a lot better if you're baptized, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
So that was probably another motivating factor as well.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So around what point in here? So let's talk about this channel that you made. Your dark history here.
Oh boy. All right.
Give me just a moment. I'm going to pull it up on the screen. So you have this channel here, JW Defense. You actually got to 300 some subscribers here. A lot of videos. What is there, like 30 videos here?
Yes, but those were... Okay, so this was my thought process. I created this because I became aware of a lot of the persecution that was happening, like in Russia, for example, and in China, where the work is banned. And I've also heard that jw.org was banned in these countries. So I figured I'd be the savior of all the people in those banned countries, and I'll create a YouTube channel where I will release the Watchtower and the Awake in audio video form. I will do the jw.org Bible Questions Answered series in video form. I will do the FAQ series in video form. And then I would also do like my own editorial, like rebuttals, I guess, of different apostate arguments, supposedly to try and debunk these mentally diseased apostates.
Well, so was your intent to like appeal it sounds like your intent was more to appeal to Russia than to apostates there.
Well, yeah, it was essentially to reach out to people in these countries where they wouldn't normally have access to the society's website, in order to, give them the information that would be on the society's website, as well as information that would help them debunk any opposer viewpoints.
I see. Had you watched a lot of apostate videos prior to this? Had you seen them?
Yeah, I actually did. And that's an interesting story. It all started off because of this one event. I was working outside of a store for field service. We had set out a table. They let us set out a table outside of the store with all of the society's literature and the Bible and all this stuff. And about an hour into it, some evangelical dude walked up to the table and he goes, "Hey, I'd like to ask you a question about this Bible verse." And, me being young and naive, I was like, "Sure, I'd love to help you understand the Bible." He turns to John 1:1, which is every JW's nightmare unless they studied it like hardcore. And I had no idea how to answer this guy, so he schooled me. I went home feeling terrible. I couldn't defend the truth, blah, blah, blah. I am going to learn every single doctrine that we teach, and I'm going to understand it, and I'm going to try and never let this happen again.
I see. So what is the scripture at John 1:1?
That was, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was a God, or depending on the version, the Word was God.
I see.
And it's essentially a Trinitarian proof text.
I see. So he was coming at you about the Trinity, because Jehovah's Witnesses don't believe in the Trinity. So you doubled down on your indoctrination. Did you come up with the perfect comeback for that, for the way they approached you?
Kind of, sort of. In reality, I just bookmarked some Watchtower articles.
Yeah.
That would explain it, well.
Yeah.
At least I thought it explained it well back then. So at this point, I had done all of my research. I can explain most of the teachings, and if not explain them myself, I can at least point you in the direction of an article or of a book that can explain it.
Uh-huh.
But I kept noticing year after year at the assemblies, there was these apostates with their picket signs and their, megaphones and all this stuff. So I just kept thinking to myself, I took the time and I learned all of these doctrines. Why can't they do the same things? What are they arguing for? Why don't they get it?
Mm-hmm.
So I started looking into what apostates were saying. And one of my first stops was JW Survey. among others. There was also JW Struggle, Watchtower Examination, and a few others, but the JW Survey website was like, I would check every day for articles. And then I would make notes and, try and debunk what they were saying. And that's what gave me the idea to start the channel in the first place, my Apologist channel, to counteract these, or counterattack, or I don't know what the word is, rebut these articles and ideas that apostates have been telling people.
Right. Wow, that's really interesting. So you put out this channel, and from what I can see on the channel, it's mostly like copy paste of witness stuff already.
Yes.
Did you do a lot that were just you talking with your own thoughts from your own head?
That would be impossible because I was a witness. So my own thoughts were forbidden. But I did do one video with my own recording, and it's a script that I wrote out based off of a script from an assembly talk that was given that year.
Okay. Interesting. So you're starting all of this, and then Lloyd Evans catches on to your scent and epically, like absolutely destroys you in a 3-part video series. For how long was this original video that you made?
Oh man, I think it was it couldn't have been more than 15 minutes. I don't remember it being that long. And he busted out a whole trilogy based on
trilogy. Like, you got a feature film out of him. I have a clip. I'm going to roll it right now.
The video is actually more or less a carbon copy of the Human Apostates talk that was given at the 2013 District Conventions of Jehovah's Witnesses. So it's possible in my mind that JW Defense is actually some kind of, how can I put it, some kind of attempt at YouTube representation by the Watchtower Society, or it might just be an individual who feels inclined to defend the Watchtower Society, which I find quite humorous. But whoever it is, there are some points made in that video that really need to be dealt with, and this is my attempt at dealing with them. So let's play the video and we'll see where we get.
Apostates of Jehovah's Organization.
So,
oh man,
he makes this video basically tearing down everything that you said. How did you find out that he'd done this to begin with?
He wrote an article about it on JW Survey.
Really?
And since I was checking that every day practically, it completely caught me off guard. It terrified the hell out of me. I'm not going to lie.
Really? Did you watch all 3 videos?
I absolutely did. And I actually tried to take some of his points into account. And so I created an updated version of that Apostates video in order to try and, clarify some of the points that he was bringing up against my original video.
Wow. Well, I can tell you right now, your production quality has come a long way since you made this video. You even got a comment from Telltale here about, Telltale says, "What is wrong with that guy's audio? It sounds like I'm standing next to somebody that's on the phone and listening to what the other guy on the end is saying."
Yeah, I was recording my audio on a potato, pretty much.
Yeah. It was, and clearly somewhere in the way you've learned how to make videos properly and are doing a really good job of it. So how does it feel like now, like going back and looking at that stuff, because now you're colleagues with these people, like Telltale and Lloyd Evans, you're doing the same thing as them now. How does it feel knowing that they've said stuff like that about you?
I mean, now I find it kind of funny. I mean, I agree with them now about what they were saying about me back then. But back then it scared the crap out of me big time.
Did it get you, did you stop making videos, or did you keep doing more?
That pretty much stopped me from making videos.
I see. Was there anything in particular that Lloyd had said that, put a little chink in your faith a little bit?
It's just the whole thing about me being intellectually dishonest. And I was thinking to myself, like, how am I being intellectually dishonest? I didn't get it back then. but it really got me to try and make future videos as intellectually honest as possible so that he couldn't use it against me for future videos. So that just led me to do more scripting for future videos. I have a partially written script defending the year 607. I have a partially written script defending the ban on blood transfusions. I have a partially written script defending the stance on the practice of disfellowshipping. And they're all partially written because I could not, in good faith, defend these things without some sort of intellectual dishonesty. And
Right.
that kind of just, I had to stop. Like, I had to stop and reassess.
Wow. So this was 8 years ago, around 8 years ago now. Why? Let's talk about how long have you been out from witnesses now, at least faded?
I stopped congregating in 2019.
In 2019. So that's about 6 years, I believe, since Lloyd slammed you down and that you finally faded. So what the heck took so long?
Well, for several years after that, I was, for the most part, I was agreeing with a lot of the apostate arguments. I started agreeing with the ridiculousness of the two-witness rule when it comes to child abuse. I started agreeing with the human rights violations, that is, shunning. I started agreeing with most things. I still thought it was the truth, though. I just thought it desperately needed to be reformed because we're starting to give God a bad name. So for years, I was struggling with that, thinking that it was the truth, but damn, this needs to be reformed, like now.
Wow. So it sounds like you just kept watching Lloyd Evans this whole time.
Yeah, pretty much. Since 2013, I've been watching and keeping an eye on all this stuff.
Wow. So, I mean, I guess that goes to show that all of these videos really do have an effect, even if, someone is being a jerk in the comments or posting videos regularly, trying to fight with you. Eventually, it does have an effect.
Yeah,
Cumulative
definitely.
Effect. So, what was it that finally, what was the straw that broke the camel's back and made you stop for good?
I don't think I have just like the one straw that broke the camel's back. It was just so many different little things all adding up. Definitely the Tony Morris talk about tight pants and yoga pants. That was a big deal for me because in that same talk, he starts talking about this example of this woman who is dating a 23-year-old guy and he's not a ministerial servant yet. And she didn't listen to his advice and they got married anyways. And boy, did she pay for it because she didn't listen to Tony's advice. And I was like, okay, all right, Tony. So you're essentially telling my girlfriend at the time to break up with me because I was over 21 or 23 and I still wasn't a ministerial servant. So I took that personally. And that was probably one of the things that got me to realize, like, okay, I don't think this religion is ever going to reform.
A man that's not serving, there should be a real good reason why they're not serving as a ministerial servant. Remember, sister, how elders get put in awkward positions. What's the story of this brother? I'm interested in marrying him, but they'd already gone too far along. But I tried to tell her, I said, well, think about it. He's 23 years old. He's not a ministerial servant. She married him. She paid for that wrong decision. 23 years old and you're not serving as a ministerial servant.
He gives a lot of divisive talks and makes a lot of sweeping generalizations about people and forgetting that a lot of the people that he's talking to are the people that he's talking about. And that can be kind of shattering when for me, it was like when he was talking about vacations and it was like, well, if you haven't been to Bethel, what are you going to Disney for? And like things like you said, like, what are you dating this guy for if he's not a ministerial servant yet? So he's basically already ostracizing you and you're still one of his dedicated followers.
Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous, but I hope he continues. I hope they put him more on the screen And I hope he says more ridiculous, outrageous stuff because it's helping people wake up.
Yeah, I think so as well. For myself, like I had been disconnected from all of this for years and years, and I finally caught on to this JW broadcasting thing, and just seeing the governing body was like mind shattering for me. That eliminated any doubts that I had prior to that about whether or not they had the truth. I was like, there's no way, the rubber face Let and Toni Morris up here talking about tight pants. It's like seeing the man behind the curtain.
Yeah, for sure.
City. So now you have a new channel, JW Review with John Maple. So what prompted you to start this new channel?
I just want to help people. I guess that's it. That's one of the main things that I guess all witnesses share is their desire to help people, which is why even though a lot of witnesses don't enjoy preaching, they'll still do it.
Yeah.
Because they have that, desire to help people. And that doesn't just go away when you start fading or whatever. I mean, I still have that. And I don't know, I have video production skills under my belt that I can use. And even back when I used to give the number 3 assignments in like the Kingdom Ministry School, I used to always prepare my talks in a short, easy to understand way, so that even the layman can understand everything, even the complicated topics. And that's kind of what I wanted to bring to the table, because I know a lot of XJW activists, they'll go really in depth about stuff and the complexities of life and the philosophy of, the materialism and humanism and all of this other stuff that, while it's great, I think that the average JW needs to hear something that's a lot more simple, a lot more easier to grasp.
Right.
Because unfortunately, all of the JW literature nowadays has been dumbed down.
Incredibly,
yes. So I feel like there needs to be some dumbed down content. And that's me. I'm the dummy. I'm the dummy that brings the dumbed down content.
Well, I don't think that's necessarily true for your channel. I think it's pretty in depth, but it is easily digestible, which is something that I appreciate. It's quick and you go through everything without wasting any time, and that's good. And there's also, plenty of space for all the other channels that are doing what they're doing. They're great. There's an audience for everybody.
Exactly.
Yeah. So your old channel is still up. Are you going to leave it up? Do you have any plans to take that down?
I cannot for the life of me find the password for for my old Apologist YouTube channel. I have been looking. I went through my old laptop. I've been through all the old notebooks that I used to have where I used to write down my passwords. I cannot find it for the life of me. So it will be a testament to my stupidity forever.
Oh.
It will just be up there to humiliate me for life.
Well, that's too bad. Well, hopefully your new channel far eclipses it. I think you're already well on your way to eclipsing whatever success you had as an apologist with what you're doing now.
Well, thank you. And I think the subscriber count to my old channel was mostly apostates anyways, just like keeping tabs on me.
Yeah.
Because almost all the comments are all negative towards my videos.
Yeah, all people tearing you apart, probably.
Yep.
So as a person that's been on the other end of that, because, all of us apostates have engaged in this. Somebody says something stupid about the witnesses, and we are there in the comments to correct them. You were on the receiving end of that. Is there anything about that behavior you would change, or do you think that it's good to do that?
If we're gonna be, not nice about it, I guess, then yes, by all means, continue posting all of these good, well-reasoned arguments and posting facts on all of these apologist channels, because they do make a difference. I read all of them. And I can say that, well, the mean ones, obviously, I wouldn't recommend against. There were people calling me very, very hurtful things back then. I would not recommend that from our XJW community, but definitely the well-reasoned, nice factual comments, I would say yes, continue doing that.
Yeah. It's kind of like the same rule of thumb as at the door, which you can lose your sense of perspective sometimes online with it. There's like a road rage effect when you're online, and a lot of people, including myself, will say things online that they'd never say to someone's face. So just, I'd say I agree. Probably treat someone like you would at the door, like nice, friendly, but firm. Because if you're mean, if you're mean, that just reinforces what they already think about apostates in the world, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I was saying. Like for the mean comments, it would just reinforce that. Like, okay, now I get it. Now I get why we should avoid them. Like they're being jerks.
Yeah.
And wishing me terrible things. So yeah, it just reinforces the negative apostate stereotype that's out there.
Speaking of stereotypes and the community and behavior and all like this, do you want to talk a little bit about infighting? Because while you were kind of in this phase of making apologist videos and also kind of also drifting away a little bit, there was definitely some infighting in the community that occurred that you were witness to. Am I right?
Yeah. I witnessed infighting between some people.
You don't have to say any names. We don't need to drag up old drama, but
yeah. But yeah, I did witness infighting, and as a PIMO back then, with my whole Apologist channel and everything, I loved it. I absolutely loved that the apostates were tearing themselves apart from the inside. And looking back at it now, first of all, I hate that behavior of mine, that I loved it and that I was like reveling in it. It's just, I don't know. Infighting can be a good thing if it's kept civil, if it's a respectful dialogue, then I guess it's not necessarily fighting, but whatever. And just don't make it public. Don't make it a public spectacle if you can help it, because there are PIMOs out there that are just enjoying every second of it, and it's counterproductive to the work that we're trying to do.
Right. There are people watching. It's a fine line to balance, because sometimes there are people that need to be called out that are being abusive or predatory. But at the same time, you have to remember that PIMOs are watching. So maybe don't put it on YouTube. The infighting, is that what you mean by keeping it out of the public face?
Yeah, don't make videos about it. Don't make these giant, accusatory tweets or Reddit posts and stuff. And sometimes it's out of your control. Sometimes you're just being called out by somebody else. Mm-hmm. Or somebody else is just dragging you into the drama. And if that's the case, then just try and handle it as quickly and as tactfully and as privately as possible. And I've seen a few YouTubers out there that have done that. Mm-hmm. For example, they've just made like one concise post answering it, and then that's it. Mm-hmm. And they're as professional and as polite as possible. And I like that. I think that's the proper way of handling any sort of infighting or drama that might pop up.
Okay, like a once and for all public statement and then move on, because we have to keep perspective of what we're actually dealing with here. We're here to help people out of the organization and bring awareness of what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. And if the more public the infighting is, then the more counterproductive it is.
Yeah.
So
luckily, there hasn't been a lot of infighting lately. That's been really good. It's been pretty peaceful and calm in XJW world for a little while, so hopefully we can keep that up. But it's something that you've talked to me about that you definitely witnessed, so I wanted to kind of get your perspective on it as someone that was PIMO watching all of it happen. So talk to me about your content creating process. How do you do your thing, and what are your goals for the channel ultimately?
All right. So the goals for the channel is just to help as many people as possible leave. Mm-hmm. This is a channel for people starting to doubt. So this is like the beginning phases of the waking up process.
Okay.
Helping you ask the critical questions. Is the governing body actually inspired? Is the governing body actually mentioned in the Bible? Like, was there a first century governing body? Is the parable of the faithful and discreet slave more than just a parable? Is it a prophecy? Are we allowed to even research all of this as witnesses, or are we supposed to stay faithful to what the governing body says? It's these questions that I want to get people started to think on, because these are important questions that will help people wake up and realize you are dedicating your life to a publishing company.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's awesome that you're doing it in dual language. You're doing Spanish videos as well. What is that like as a content creator?
So since I went to a Spanish congregation, it's been a little over a year since I've spoken Spanish. So trying to translate everything from English to Spanish, I realized, holy crap, I'm starting to lose my Spanish. I'm picking it back up though, so it's good. This is going to help me practice my Spanish for a long time. And the process is kind of easy but stressful. So step one is to stress out about it for several days. Step two is just to write out the script. If I can write it out both in English and Spanish at the same time, I will do so. Otherwise, if I'm having a hard time in Spanish, I'll focus on the English one first, then do Spanish afterwards. Once I'm done with the script, then start gathering all of the images, all of the screenshots that I'm going to be using throughout the video. I will record and edit my audio. I will actually record myself using this program that I'm using now in order to animate this leaf, so that as I'm speaking, the natural movement of my head is kind of,
That's really cool. That's really cool. I had always wondered if like you hand animated that or if you had something tracking your head or.
No, yeah, it's tracking my face. And after that, then I just put everything onto Premiere Pro and I just start animating.
Wow. It sounds
It
like
usually
a lot
takes
of
me
work.
a few days.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely. It's a lot of work. It's time consuming. It's easy. It's simple enough, but it's just time consuming.
If you could go back in time right now to talk to yourself back when you started that first channel, like just one mano a mano, what would you say to yourself?
Slap across the face. Snap out of it. Don't do it. I remember seeing a meme, or like someone posted, like, if you could go back in time and change one thing in your life, what would it be? And mine is resoundingly 100%, I would not get baptized.
Yeah.
It sucks. It sucks looking back at all the years wasted that I could have been doing something else or pursuing one of my passions.
Yeah, exactly. And with the baptism, it's just so hard because you don't realize then how much you're signing your life away when you do that.
Yeah, and it pisses me off because going back to good old Tight Pants Tony, I remember a talk that he gave talking about a 16-year-old girl who wanted to get her driver's permit to start driving, but she wasn't baptized yet. And he was essentially encouraging the parents to not get her driver's permit because clearly she can't be trusted in making decisions because she's not baptized yet.
That's blackmail. Straight up blackmail.
Yeah, it's straight up blackmail. And he said something along the lines of, oh, you're old enough to learn to drive, but you're not old enough to dedicate your life. And it's like, I wish they can hear how they sound to other people.
Right. They say things like that. And then when you come out and you start speaking about the witnesses or about the baptism arrangement and the shunning and all of this, what they always tell you is, well, you can leave anytime you want. Nobody's keeping you here. It was your choice to get baptized. Nobody made you get baptized. And it's not true at all. Like, sure, it's your choice, but they're threatening you if you don't do it. Your parents are holding things back from you, and the organization is telling your parents to hold those things back from you.
Yeah, and then there's the gun pointed at your head that is Armageddon.
Yeah. And
it's, get baptized or else you're dead at Armageddon.
Do you have any residual Armageddon fears?
Actually, no, not really. I remember it's kind of sad. I remember my depression being so strong back then when I was trying to be a good witness and I was fully PIMO, but I was still depressed and I didn't really know why. I remember thinking, you know what? It's okay if I die at Armageddon. Like, as long as I'm helping people get there, get to paradise. I don't really care if I die at Armageddon or not. So I didn't really have that much fear of Armageddon. And I don't have that fear now, really. I know a lot of people do, and then they hear the thunderstorms and then they go crazy. Armageddon's around the corner. But no, I'm thankful that I don't have that religious trauma of Armageddon.
That's good. But it's also really sad that you were that selfless to just be like, okay, well, I guess I don't think I'm going to make it, but I'll keep knocking on doors anyway. Hopefully someone else will make it.
Yeah, it was a bad time. It was a bad time in my life.
Yeah.
Most of it, really. In fact, I can honestly say now that I've stopped congregating and I've started doing therapy, that I've probably never been happier.
That's amazing.
Than this last year.
Wow. That's so great. I bet you're wishing that you'd have done this a lot sooner.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
How would your life be different right now if you didn't get baptized?
I don't know, Germ. I don't have a time machine.
You haven't thought about it? There's not like some alternate universe out there that exists where John Maple never got baptized and now he's like Steven Spielberg or something?
My first passion right out of high school was video games, because I was always a gamer. And I was so close to being enrolled into I forgot what it was called, the Gaming and Arts Academy or something like that, in order to like design and program video games. Unfortunately, that didn't happen because of the influence of my parents. But I would think that if I wasn't baptized, I probably would have pursued that.
You would have been a video game maker.
Yep. I would have made Cyberpunk an actual awesome playable game.
Oh, no, we can't talk about that here. That's far too controversial. Much better to stick to religion and politics than Cyberpunk 2077. Do you have, we're running up now here toward the time, so I have a final segment that we're going to run now, which I like to call... John Maple, do you have any strong recommendations for people that are just falling out of Jehovah's Witnesses, maybe a video to watch or a book to read or something that's going to help them along on their exit?
Well, for anyone who has just woken up and is starting their arduous task of trying to figure out life, now that they no longer have that worldview, sorry. There's this book that I've been reading, and it actually goes hand in hand with what I was talking about, me going to therapy. It's a book by Bonnie Zeman, and it's called Cracking the Cult Code for Therapists: What Every Cult Victim Wants Their Therapist to Know. That book is fantastic. It's a short read. The chapters are short and concise and to the point. And I actually offered to buy it for my therapist, and she was like, no, it's okay. It's fine. She ended up buying it herself, and she's been reading it, and it's been a godsend for me and just helping me grow as a person and helping my therapist understand exactly what I've been through. And it's actually gotten to the point where she started researching like on her own without me prompting her about cults and indoctrination. And she actually reached out to one of her colleagues who has dealt with helping ex-cult victims. And she says that this book has been extremely helpful for her, and I have found the book to be super helpful for me as well. So I highly recommend this book.
All right. Bonnie Zeman's Cracking the Cult Code for Therapists. I have not read it, but I've heard it's amazing. I've heard a lot of people that have had a similar experience as you, where they actually gave it to their therapist and helped them to understand a lot better what the heck is going on in that cult indoctrinated noggin of yours.
Yeah, and your video was also super helpful to compare it to an abusive relationship, because that's something also that therapists would understand.
Yes.
So I'd actually also recommend your video to those newly waking up.
Well, thank you. I've been mulling over this idea. I really think that cults, the definition of a cult could really be organized narcissistic abuse, because that's really what it is, and it leaves the same kind of trauma on you that does. So, and I'm sure that Bonnie touches on some of that specific trauma that they'll be dealing with. So, all right. Thank you for that recommendation. Is there any final thing you want to plug? Tell us where to find you.
You could find me on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. It's JW Review with John Maple. I try and upload around once a month, if possible. Sometimes life gets busy and I can't. But yeah, you could find me on there. And you can also find me over on the tweets over on Twitter at John_Maple_007.
Wonderful. Oh, I have one more question before we go. Have you talked to Lloyd Evans yet? Is he aware that his old arch nemesis is out and about here on the YouTubes, deconverted?
Yeah, one of the first things I did when I finally stopped congregating and fully woke up and created this John Maple alias is one of the first things I did was to reach out to him to apologize, because I truly felt bad. We had some contact already.
Oh.
After he made his trilogy, I reached out to him through YouTube, the YouTube inbox back when that was a thing. And I asked him to take down the video, please.
Good luck with that one, pal.
Yeah, he didn't want to. He invited me on to debate on his channel. I rejected. Obviously, I didn't want to, show my face out there. I didn't want my elders to find out that I'm online debating apostates or anything. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I felt like I was a little short. I might have been a little rude. And I just felt bad over everything that happened. So I did reach out to him and I apologized. And we've had some dialogue on Twitter as well. And yeah, everything, he's been fairly nice to me since then. I'm glad that there's no resentment or anything for my past humiliations. So yes.
All right. Well, I'm glad that no bridges have been burned, and you're out here among us now making great content. So everyone watching this, please go and subscribe to his channel. He's making some great high quality content in both Spanish and English. Follow him on Twitter, do all of the things. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe, because next week I'm going to be talking with the other aforementioned co-host that's going to be coming on and helping me out with some of the new shows. So don't miss that. You can find me on Twitter at Mentally Diseased. That's DZD Diseased. Or if you want to help support the show, you can find me over at patreon.com/mentallydiseased. Thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.